Hello and welcome to the Overwatch Beat Invitational Season 5. We are here on day 2, and that means it's time to take a look at the lower bracket. We played all the way through up to our upper bracket final yesterday. Now we go on and see what teams are going to survive here today. I'm ZP here with T-Rex, and we're going to be taking you through all the action here today. And I gotta say, the Tier 2 scene has never been hotter.
Yeah, I mean, with this setup right now, we're going to be seeing bye week up first. I'm definitely looking forward to this matchup. This is a rematch of a matchup that literally just took place about an hour ago in Trials. SkyFoxes took that 4-0. I'm really curious to see if bye week is going to be able to adapt and bounce back.
Yeah, it's certainly a case where it's a little bit of a rough moment where obviously teams do value Trials the highest because they would love to get in the contenders, but you also have this scenario where it's like, okay, well, we might have lost just a moment ago in this, but we can get a little bit of redemption and maybe get back at the SkyFoxes here in the Overwatch Beat Invitational. And it wouldn't be the first time either that we've seen a team have a crazy run through the lower bracket, where you think back to GOATs and what they were able to do in the very last season. They got absolutely destroyed in the upper bracket and then made a fantastic run through the lower. So crazier things have happened. And look, at this point, you'd almost say that they're playing with the pressure being off because, you lose early in the day. At this point, it's like, okay, you know what? Let's leave everything out there and see where it goes.
And what a storyline for GOATs too. Not only all of that are they in, the first round of the lower bracket, but they're up against NRG, which is just even more following that exact same storyline that we saw with Beat, I mean, they're almost like off-season rivals at this point.
Yeah, it certainly tournaments, when you hold them over a weekend, you get some cool storylines, no doubt. But of course, we have the bracket up here for you guys here. In case you're just wondering where everything's going to be at today, we are going to be going through the lower bracket to start out with, and then looping our way back around up until Sunday, where Sunday we'll just be going through the lower bracket finals and then the grand finals. So we're getting through a lot of the meat and potatoes here today.
So both of these teams with a lot of experience, not just that, but also with, playing each other. Obviously, they just had their Trials matchup. That was, again, a 4-0 for SkyFoxes. That is a crazy amount of time for them to have to turn around quickly and be able to adapt for bye week. I mean, to be just trounced like that in Trials literally like an hour ago, like I said, and then to turn around. Now they have another matchup that this time is going to be on stream. So the pressure is tighter. Everything is a lot more difficult, I think, at this stage to start off here in Lijiang Tower. And again, just adapt and turn it right around.
Now, one thing I'll say is that, we did not see the previous matchup, so it could have been a close 4-0. Those do happen where it's 4-0, but it's not really reflective. Or, to the more obvious assumption, could have been a stomp. We won't know until we see this first map here, and we're going to be heading into Lijiang Tower.
And something that I've noticed, too, about bye week is, they never go full GOATs. They don't like to do that very often. If they can get away from it, they always do. You see a couple of times where, they've gotten close, but then you see stuff like Lifa pulling out a Torb, and all of a sudden it's no longer GOATs, right? I mean, they haven't pulled that out quite yet. I'm expecting perhaps that might be the case here for us today, as Lifa is actually AFK, so Hobbs is going to be standing in for this first map at least. And I believe that is the changeup that is going to require them to make that adjustment to their composition that they typically play here in Control.
Could be a harsh commentary on the Overwatch scene where you go, we don't have our main starter, and what are we going to play? I guess we go GOATs. Why not? Clearly, this is going to make some sense. And hey, you know what? We'll see if it works. Who knows? They end up taking the first map. They might just keep on going forward. But you take a look at the SkyFoxes side, it's going to be GOATs all the way.
And when we start out here, too, I mean, these teams are both going to clash with Annas. So pacing with the Annas between Snow versus Pizza Demon is going to be huge in terms of these biotic grenades, these sleep darts, setting up their teammates with the Briggs as well for the stuns.
Well, Snow going to open up here. Turns a lot of people purple with that early Bionate. SkyFoxes looking to take advantage. Isolating the Brigade to the side. Jade going to fall super early on. And the SkyFoxes now the man advantage. Starting to push on over. Taking advantage of it. The front line completely down. And the SkyFoxes going to be taking the first point.
I mean, I think this first one was just a matter of the Brigidas, right? I mean, not only is King going to cap it all off with a nice little boop onto Pizza Demon, the Anna flying off the side, but he started that off really well, too, where he was able to help shut down Jade early on. That gave them the advantage in control. The Reinhardt was able to get that done as well with the extra amount of breathing room that he had versus Chrono Dodo, who also got stunned out on his charge.
Now you look towards the next fight here. Moopy built up the shadow super early. Gonna look to drop the hammer immediately and hits Paydirt. 2 already knocked down. Chrono Dodo out of the fight immediately, and that's the power of having an advantage from that first fight. You can just snowball it into the next, and SkyFox is being absolutely aggressive here.
Right, momentum is just so important, and talking about momentum, you know, Retzi is going to be at 70%, but here's the thing, Hobbs, he's already at 80, so he was able to find value in these last two fights, despite the fact that his team lost out, where he's kind of keeping up with the pacing that was set by Retzi. So they're going to have a duel going on pretty soon here, but again, look at these Annas, the positioning that they're going to take in this next fight.
Yeah, the Anna's in the back. Hobbs going to be looking for the early ground, but Jade's down immediately, isolated again. And you're going to see the self-destruct coming from Zombs just to be sure. Doesn't get anything. Does force Bi-Week back a little bit. They move on empty nano boost on the Chrono Dota, looking for anything. And oh, so close to getting King, but he's going to get healed back up. Bi-Week still staying in, even down 1. Hobbs going for the grab, picks up 3, but the damage fall through not entirely there. Moopy gonna drop a shatter, doesn't get much of anything. Chrono Dota though, down early, and the slog back and forth, they weren't able to commit on the Graviton.
The big takeaway here is SkyFoxes not committing the Graviton Surge to this next fight and coming away as well with Snow, completely outpacing Pizza Demon on that Nano Boost as well. So they're going to have a lot of tools to cleave down a Graviton that gets launched in from Retzi. It's going to be down to, of course, Waifu to try to deny this one coming out.
Retzi just going to lob it against the wall. Didn't want to mess with the Diva Knight a little bit as Chrono Dota again isolated early on. You see the pressure going onto the tanks every time. It's not Chrono Dota, it's a Brigitte. And it's just so hard to actually win fights when you lose either one early on in a GOAT-style composition.
And perhaps starting the same way it ended in the Trials match just, you know, an hour ago. But already you're seeing just the prowess by SkyFoxes being flexed here. This, I mean, the combination of Snow and Felty, I think, is just insane. Together, these guys are providing so much support to their teammates. Especially I want to give a shout out to Felty with the way that they actually make those mid-fight rotations. It's helping them out so much because they're able to make those rotations and get out of harm's way when they need to. And when you're going goats versus goats, when you're taking tanks on and big, you know, big lineups like 3-3 like this, it's all about positioning. It's all about rotations, making sure that your team is staying collective, staying cohesive. And, you know, having a guy like Felty at the helm, that's a huge boon to your team.
Well, particularly when he's been a big part of how they've been able to isolate Jade, just going to the side, moving him into a rough position. We saw Jade just getting rocked in the corner early on that last fight. So, yeah, those situations definitely help. SkyFoxes, though, taking a lot of damage early on, but they still manage to punish Chrono Dota. Meanwhile, they keep Loopy alive. The power of the supports in the back, doing that, keeping the team alive, not the man advantage. What are you going to see? You're going to see them moving on forward. Retzi, 100% charge, building so much towards his next grab.
I think this is all about just maintaining points of aggression too, right, ZP? I mean, you see the way that they take that fight. King is pulled back, and anytime we see some aggression come out from Bi-Week, they pull them back into it, and King is right there for the stun.
King has been playing out of his mind here so far. Retzi, again, far up, and why wouldn't he be at 100% charge? Not only is he doing a lot of damage, he's getting close to getting a grab. We see the flow of battle now starting to go against SkyFoxes. And heavy pressure coming in, Earth Shatter in Chrono Dota. They're going to try and follow it up immediately. They deal with King, and Retzi ends up falling. The 1% could have flipped it back over, so a good counter engage coming in from Bi-Week.
Yeah, a great turnaround. I mean, a great setup there from Chrono Dota as well. And he didn't even really need as much setup. You would typically see in that situation where Jade would be required to get the setup for him. But, you know, just given exactly how that went down, it wasn't necessary. And Chrono Dota was able to just slip in a sneaky Earth Shatter in the middle of that fight and lay down 4 targets.
He's not going to have the Earth Shatter this time, though. SkyFox is moving on in. Rally up. Plenty of extra armor. Retzi, super aggressive, but the Shatter comes in first from Moopy. Knocks down 3. Fall through. Not entirely there. Hobbs turns the grab. Waifu with the self-destruct, and they immediately flip the tail of the tape on that engagement. If there is an upside, though, is that at the very least, the SkyFoxes did not invest too much into that fight.
Yeah, they are very patient with their ults, right? I mean, something that we have seen is that they don't want to utilize the Graviton unless they absolutely have to. Well, here's a situation where you might have to, buddy. Retzi is going to go ahead and be aggressive in this situation. But again, look for Waifu's positioning. Look for his DM usage in this next fight. Can he shut this out and give them a very, very strong advantage going into the rest of this round?
Well, Retzi holds the grab and it's shut down. Waifu gobbles it right on up. Retzi telegraphed that from a mile away. Now SkyFox invest pretty much everything else that they have. They open up the barrier, but they don't get anything. Chrono Dota drops the hammer. Nothing in his way. And the SkyFoxes getting grounded here by Bi-Week as they read the entire situation well.
That's the kind of thing you actually sort of just expect from Waifu at this stage. And they're still continuing this push. Moopy trying to ward them off right now with the Earth Shatter.
They're going for it, and Hobbs just getting extra cleanup here, getting a grab for the next fight. This has been a full reversal here from bye week, and they're one fight away.
Hobbs right now holding on to the Earth Shatter. They have a self-destruct follow-up as well, so if they can just clear the shield with a charge or a stun from Jade, they could just get a full team wipe right now.
We'll see just how they go about it. Hobbs gonna go around the side, going for the sneaky grab, but turns out everyone's there, might not care. Drops the grab on the stairs, picks up 3. Big fall through after the Bionade. Waifu blows him on up. No one could heal him, even in the interim, and that's gonna be enough for bye week to take the control center and even things up 1-1.
And I set that up pretty much exactly how it went down, but you know what? I said that it was going to be either the charge or the stun from Jade or Chrono Dota that was going to set up that perfect combination of the self-destruct into the Graviton. But you know what? Why not both? They just dropped them both in there, stunned everybody out. Nobody was allowed to move. They just all died out. I mean, clean execution. And again, that adaptation that we were talking about that really needed to come out from bye week for them to turn around what was a 4-0 trials match. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of other adjustments they can make to give us a more competitive match, or perhaps show us how close that 4-0 might have actually been.
You brought it up midway through the game, but it's absolutely true, is that SkyFoxes, they had a great opportunity to turn momentum with, of course, just having the Graviton in tow, but there's always the ability for D.Va to come in and make a hero playing double it up. Waifu was able to do that at just the right moment, and that, to me, just took the wind out of the SkyFoxes' sails. But now, as we go to the Garden, we see McCree in play.
Yeah, that we do, and it is with the Brigitte. This is a pretty consistent compositional pickup right now in the current meta. We've seen this, yesterday in Beat. This has kind of been passed around in trials as well. This is something that teams are feeling very confident with, pairing it with a dive, pairing it with the Brigitte, and just playing very, very stun heavy, especially into dives. But they're going straight for control, man. That's the hack.
Yeah, I doubted them. I totally thought SkyFox was going to go in and just go goats, but they're going to bring out the Sombra, Doom, Hammond, so they're going to be looking to dive straight into this, be disruptive. Not going to come on the Waifu early on. Don't know if there's the actual fall through there, but Pizza Demon got caught by King. The early Doomfist pickoff comes in. The Anna's not going to be there to get the healing that they want. And the SkyFoxes, off the Sombra Doom setup, have completely outflanked and outmaneuvered bye week.
Yeah, Doomfist is the hero, right? I mean, King came in there, just battered 2 people around, and they might have a good shot here, and indeed they will take the point. And coming away from that, they only allowed 15% of a take for bye week, and they're going to actually swap their composition up. They're going to that same composition that we talked about before. Again, it is very solid against the dive, especially shutting down a Hammond as well, as you have that double stun opportunity, and you can shut down any damage pressure he comes through with outside of the pile driver. So I think it's really just about shutting the Hammond down and making sure that you can set up against the Doomfist as well when he comes in. And
Moopy went in super aggressively before the rest of the SkyFoxes really could have gone in. Ends up getting punished. Now, there's a big change of momentum here where bye week had to give up quite a bit of ult charge for the swap up. Is the penalty you pay. Snow can use the Transcend, saves D.Va in the nick of time. King able to find Pizza Demon in the back once more, but this is a lot more even than SkyFoxes would care to have right now because of that early Hammond engage that didn't work out well. Hammond, though, back into the fight, self-destruct from Waifu, doesn't get too much. You still see Snow in the back, laying in plenty of damage on the Zen, no one really caring about him, but now we're going to see the barrier invested in by bye week as they use a tankier setup, get onto the point, clear out space, and they almost have control of the point, but we're going to see SkyFox just roll back in.
I mean, this is basically a counter composition, but still SkyFox surging, not only by taking and elongating this fight as much as they possibly could, so that they have at least the value of getting that score up higher, but they pull away with the win as well, with King just proving to be so elusive. Great hack setups from Retzi as well, and that's exactly how you want to play that when you're playing into a double stun composition that bye week has actually put out.
The other problem that bye week has been having here is that Pizza Demon has been the #1 target for King. And oh, what a slam from Hammond, setting up King, and he immediately goes and gets Pizza Demon again. I'm not even going to blame Pizza Demon for that one. That was a fantastic setup coming in from Moopy, and King was there for the easy slam dunk.
And now we're going to see King trying to set up onto Chrono Dota. They're going to take the late kill as well, as now it's going to be really difficult for them to get in onto the point, force that contest, and also make sure that they win the fight, as King is just kind of waiting in the backline as well.
Pizza Demon gonna have to transcend here. Oh, gets booped right off! Felty putting the nail in the coffin of bye week there, just when you think, all right, I'm gonna transcend to the point, I'm gonna buy some time. It's like, no, you're gonna hit the pavement. Try transcending out of that. and that is going to be giving SkyFoxes Lijiang Tower here, unless there's an absolute miracle. Chronodata buying some time, but there's only so much you can really do here. Overtime, in the process ticking down, King just gonna be rolling for it, but this should be the SkyFoxes back.
Yeah, and despite the fact that they did wind up, utilizing some of their resources into allocating it into playing against the Doomfist, it just didn't work out for them, and eventually SkyFox will take this.
Red Sea staying on over, and we're going to get back in the Chrono Dome, so he has gotten back in. This has gone a little bit longer than SkyFoxes want. We've actually hit the territory where weird things can happen, but not going to be a case this time. SkyFoxes cleanly taking Lijiang Tower on the Garden stage, and I gotta say, it's felt like a very good adjustment there, where they saw the composition that bye week was coming in on. They said, you know what, we actually don't want to mess with this. We're not going to go a mirror match. We're not going to run our initial McCree setup. We're just going to run Sombra Doom. We're going to make it work, and they absolutely did with the twist of the hand.
Yeah, and typically with bye week, I mean, with the McCree, they would typically have Leafa playing that. Obviously, Hobbs is standing in as Leafa isn't here, though. But, maybe that might have some impact. But I think the biggest thing here is the adaptations made by SkyFoxes. As you just mentioned, seeing those kinds of compositions, allowing yourself to lose out on the points that you can win the first fight, which in Control is significantly more important because of the momentum that we talked about in the first round as well on Night Market. It just gives you such an advantage going forward in that map because of the duration, the way things line up, especially with ultimates coming online and everything, is that you might get 2 ultimates, you might get lucky and get a third at some point with some of those bigger ultimates as well, but typically you're going to see 2. So having that come out a lot earlier is a big advantage, especially with a composition that generates them rather quickly and also kind of inherently gives you a lot of control with both Sombra and Doomfist.
Yeah, I mean, Silver Doom, it's not a big surprise that we've been seeing a lot more of it in the scene. I mean, both heroes particularly strong. Sombra, especially, where Sombra kind of puts the entire game of information on its head, where as soon as you're running a Sombra, essentially, it's like the old skit with Patrick Stewart on Extras, where but it's too late. I've seen everything. There are no secrets when you're running a Sombra. And of course, that enables Doom to get very good engages, and you go from there. I will note, though, that the entire phenomenon of swapping early in Control, it's pretty interesting because you almost have a secret metagame there of we're going to come out with a certain composition, and you actually might get the point freely because of what you come out with, but it comes with the cost that the other team might be coming out with a counter comp before there's actually any real cost associated with swapping, because neither team has really built up much in the way of ult charge at that point.
Yeah, I mean, realistically speaking, 15% and a 1 fight, any team will take that any day of the week. They'll give up 15% to be able to win the first fight every single game if they could. If there was just an option in game settings or something, they would just click that every single game. But they wind up taking the advantage because of that. And now as we move into King's Row, there's a lot of different looks that we see with this map, at least right now. Before, it was almost constantly Ryan Zarya, right? It was almost constantly Ryan Zarya. We used to see a little bit of dive played here, some sneaky tracer stuff, but I think this is going to be very much dominated by Sombra, very much dominated by even a lot of different looks of dive as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of specific plays we get out of these teams that have obviously played each other. They've both played Hollywood in this tournament specifically, where bye week lost it to last night's leftovers. SkyFoxes instead won it against Second Wind. So I think given the fact that SkyFoxes looked already good in their trials matchup, they already took that 4-0. They're feeling confident here despite, however close it might have been. They have that win on Hollywood. They dominated Hollywood as well against Second Wind, of also pretty strong team, if I say so myself. So I think in terms of confidence, they have to feel pretty good about this one.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you can run a good Sombra on maps like Kings Road is an edge, and Retzi, from the looks of it here, doesn't really have to worry about a threat like Saucy or someone else on the other team. But we're gonna open up the gates here, see what the offense has in store, and it's gonna be back to the old school here. This is classic GT Genji Tracer dive.
Yeah, and I talked about the classic Tracer setup, just kind of sneaking around, but it is going to be Hobbs, so it's not a surprise to see him on something like this.
Jade moving on in, gonna be going to the left. And the good part here for bye week, there is no Brigida in play, so this is still a comp you can make work when you don't have to worry about Brigida just slowing down the pace of the game. Bye week looking for something here early. Gonna see the Bionade come out from Snow, but Waifu able to shake it off. 2 down here from the defense, and for the offense, this is actually a pretty good setup right now. You're running something that thrives on the chaos of a low number situation. You've gotten 2 early pickoffs, and you have a respawn edge. We'll see if they can make more happen of this.
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, certainly Retzi can really slow things down very quickly if he gets a decent hack off to shut things out. But what
nice
a bomb!
Hobbs! Hobbs just snuck it on in there, saw a whole bunch of people close together, had the early pulse bomb, and that should be the cherry on top to a good attack here from bye week. King taking a snooze on the job, down he goes, and bye week coming out in force here, and you got to think that this will lead to a Brigida swap, especially as they pick up the remaining stagger here from the SkyFoxes.
I think the big change that we're going to need to see at some point is going to be Snow. I mean, he has Transcendence, so he might not swap just yet, but, you know, on this Zenyatta, you know, without the Brig that they didn't have before, luckily they have it now, so maybe he can stick to this. They were really hurting in terms of dealing with these flankers. Hobbs and Jade specifically is who I'm talking about here, because they were able to just go ahead and just manhandle Snow time and time again. He wasn't able to do much of anything because without the sleep dart from Felty, there's nothing to prevent them from just trouncing them. So good swap as well from Hobbs. Again, that adaptation that we're talking about, he knew that he wasn't going to be able to get much done with the Brig coming out from King.
It was pretty simple. Hobbs looked there and said, oh, okay, there's Brigida. I guess I will also go Brigida. The arms, you know, the mutually assured destruction pact, it's over. We're all using Brigida. We're all using nuclear weapons here in this Overwatch game. And yes, I just compared her to nukes. That is the state of the game we are in. Bye week, though. Gonna open up here with the barrier early on in this fight. And you see Moopy quite far back, has used Primal Rage to get back over to his team, doesn't quite get the disruption he's looking for. Meanwhile, Chrono Dota getting a little bit more done for disruption, and this is starting to devolve. Both teams all over the place here in this team fight, but with Chrono Dota down, there's going to be a huge edge of tanks here for SkyFoxes. Retzi may or may not use the EMP here. They have enough momentum that he could save it for the next fight, and that's exactly what he's going to be able to do.
That Brigida change, just that one change, gives them so much value because now they have that stun to connect with. They have that ability to you know, push off any aggressive engage that comes from Chrono Dota or Waifu as well.
Early EMP coming out here from Retzi. Moopy diving in right after, and you play the self-destruct in after. It's just good, solid synergy with the EMP. Bye week, still diving in, but it actually works out. They forced the Transcendence out of Snow, and I don't really think he needed to use it there.
I think that's super important too, because Jade has just been holding this, lying in wait for the opportunity to blade, and well, buddy, you got it now. So let's see what you can get done with it. See if he can get that nano boost and get into the back line, put some pressure onto Snow and Felty. But again, remember, they have CC, they have the hack, they have the stun, they have the sleep as well.
Well, tell that to Jade. He's just diving on in. Immediately finds but it's a nano boosted Brigida. The one thing that actually is surprisingly effective. King moving on in after dealing with Jade, giving the advantage back to the SkyFoxes. You have nano boosted Ninja. We have nano boosted Brigida.
Yeah, that's a war I don't want to take, certainly. But now we're going to see SkyFoxes still losing members. They are going to be pushing the payload, that is bye week. But, you know, coming back into this fight, we'll see potentially an opportunity to recontest here. I think they should have enough time to get there as it's Zoms coming in on the D.Va. But the question is, what are they going to have? They do have the reset of the Primal Rage for Moopy to actually go in and find an opportunity to buy some time for the rest of his team.
This is risky. Anytime you re-engage on second, it comes with inherent risk of just rooting your third, but Moopy uses the Primal Rage, disrupts quite a bit, but you take a look at what he's diving into. There's rally armor everywhere, but they're able to demech Waifu, so now, front line a little bit weaker. SkyFoxes, more advantage to push on is Felty. Finishes off Waifu, but Chrono Dota, he's going to push it back the other way. That's the Primal, but SkyFox is doing quite well here. Transcendence going to make things pretty easy for them, and the offense might have to reset.
But again, that Transcendence is out of pace with the Dragon Blade that comes out. They were able to find an answer for it last time, but they don't have the Nano Boost anymore. They've swapped off of that. Felty's on the Lucio now, so they won't be able to just batter the Genji into submission as he's going to pull that out. He has the Nano Boost to back him up. So really, it's going to come down to stuns from King and Retzi as they made that swap to the McCree as well. And maybe that will be enough as Snow has already reached 44%. Remember, he just used that trance.
This should be a fight that bye week wins. Jade immediately deletes Red Sea. The power of Nano Blade in action, picks up 2, and they're just, to your point, there just wasn't really the resources on the defensive end here. It would have taken a ridiculous early pickoff to really swing it, but they've still bought a reasonable time of second to make up for a pretty bad first. 2 minutes and 30 seconds left as we roll into third.
Somehow Snow is able to get the health from King as well. So he's safe here. He was down about 6 HP, and not only that, but he's staying into the fight, so that allows him to get ever closer to that Transcendent, so he's going to have it available going forward.
Snow got the early pickoff on the Pizza Demon. SkyFoxes now at the rally, deciding we're going to push up a little bit, but they also rein themselves in, right? You don't want to give off free picks in this situation, so they're going to hold right here.
And I'm looking at Moopy right now to create anything, any kind of opportunity that he can as we look to see Bye-Week making those swaps. They're going to go Anna Goats themselves as Jade is now onto the Zarya. And right now the defense is kind of stuck playing this composition.
Defense can open up with the Deadeye. Red Sea going on a women repair. Ends up canceling because that's a Diva self-destruct on his face. Still catches Boopy. Splashbang over the top, Chrono Dota. Able to back out. Diva coming in to protect him. Offense now working on a 6v5 setup. Jade, nice self-bubble, gonna live. And if King down, this is turning into a very good fight for Bye-Week.
All right, so now you make those swaps. King, Retzi likely to make some swaps of their own. I'm expecting a Doomfist here, maybe a Sombra. There it is, right there. And we see both of those swaps being made. This is exactly the same adjustments that they made on Control. And I'm expecting pretty much the same result here if they can find value early.
He's going straight for Pizza Demon. Or no, actually just going to go for the bigger setup. Goes for the Zarya early on, backs on out. Has built up plenty of shields from that early engage. Going to go back in, punches Chrono Dota up to 372. King buying a lot of room on the Doomfist, but they lost Moopy. They're down 1. They're going to have to invest the Transcendence just to tread water here because the Doomfist hasn't gotten the early pickoff and keeps hitting tanks. Can't get in on the supports. This is working out for the offense. Now they're going to rotate back. They force out the last remaining support elf from the SkyFoxes. King rotating around. Going to take another whack at Pizza Demon. Knocks him away, but the barrier keeps him nice and healthy. SkyFox is getting out-muscled here as the offense just needs a little bit more.
They did a good job of shutting down Jade so he couldn't get the Graviton, but unfortunately they just lost the fight everywhere else, it seems.
Looking pretty well here. Who's saying, please stop. Jade charged up, finishing Graviton in his arsenal. Backs up, waiting for the opportunity here for Bye-Week. They lost Chrono Dota, but still in a good spot. Jade picks up 2, like Grav cleaning up on the payload. Fully charged, microwaving people down. 2 meters left. Last moment desperation coming in here from Moopy. The emergency Hammond, which is surprisingly strong at buying time. You're going to spin around. King's been able to get back in, and the defense is bringing it back.
How are they able to get back in here? It's the Doomfist from King as he slides in with a massive Meteor Strike into the backline as well.
Oh man, the delay coming in from Hammond. King finally hitting pay dirt. Jade gonna fall. Jade probably wondering how did this even happen. He was in such a good spot. But now Chrono Dota goes, I'm gonna Hammond as well. I'm gonna swing on over. I've built up a minefield, but unfortunately you don't have the spawn advantage. You are far outnumbered. And the offense running out of steam here at the very end of King's Row.
You know, I was going to make a quick point when we did see that hitting that last section where we saw the excellent setup where Jade dropped the Graviton. They got 3 kills. It was a beautiful opportunity for them to close the map out. I was like, you know, this could, you want to watch the timer here. This could wind up going down to that 0 seconds where, that is certainly going to pay dividends for SkyFoxes going forward. But somehow, some way, they're able to battle back into that one, and off the back of King just shutting down the point and then just knocking everyone around as soon as he comes down from the Meteor Strike. Again, those adaptations being made to deal with these adjustments being thrown out by Bye-Week. It's just so much quicker and so much more efficient on the side of SkyFoxes. Every time they make those adjustments, they can stick to them despite changes being made on the side of Bye-Week, where you see, certain changes like McCree Brig to deal with King, and somehow, again, just so elusive, so hard to deal with him, and Moopy is doing a good job of creating that space, nod to reinforce as well, to make sure that the job for everybody else is just so much easier.
Yeah, and also kind of going back to just what we saw at the very end there as well, is that you have the entire dynamic where the concept of emergency Doomfist has been a thing for a while, but the reason why you see that is that when you're down in numbers, when you're just staggering at a spawn, the only way you're going to be able to flip a situation like that is getting an early pickoff. And there's only a handful of characters that are actually effective at getting a pickoff when down numbers. Doomfist is one of those characters, so you get a Hammond that can buy a little bit of extra time, you let the Doomfist come back out, you create the perfect scenario to actually come back in.
And King, he's putting himself in a position where he can just kind of go over the top. Oh, it doesn't look like he's actually going to go for that specific rotation, but instead is going to come up over the top of the doorway here instead and come down next to Statue. And this is a great way to set up onto the tanks early.
You have King setting up here in the Doomfist for now, with the rest of the team not going for anything sneaky. Gonna go to the underpass now, finds Sombra, but not really fight he won the take right there. Gonna go back the other way, looking for Chrono Dota, and gets taken down by Jade. So defensive bye week, getting a slightly better approach here early on. Offense, SkyFox is gonna have to hold off just for a moment.
I'm just never gonna count them out though. Again, these adaptations that they make just always give them the opportunity to bounce back really, really quickly. I'm looking for that same thing to occur here. Jade was able to get the better end of the deal versus King in that last matchup where they mirrored into each other, but I think King is more prepared this time around.
Jade moving in, diving over, Doomfist rollout, not able to get Retzi. Retzi just translocates right out of there. Jade going a little bit deeper. Waifu though, on the front line, deals with Zombs. Bye week, getting the pressure that they need here on the defense. They're able to reestablish. They do lose Chrono Dota, so SkyFoxes are going to invest here. They see the Winston down, drop the barrier, get the hack on the Jade, gonna take him down. The Transcendence does not reach him in time. Pizza Demon could not rotate over in the nick of time, and SkyFoxes now doing what they need to do to bloody this. Retzi drops the EMP. They are all in.
Yeah, they are definitely all in, making sure that they push everybody back into that choke point. So now if they want to go through, it has to be off the back of this EMP.
You see the defense coming back in. They weren't able to get enough off the EMP from Retzi. Waifu back into the fight. Two already down, and the EMP from Hobbs able to switch that back the other way. See Waifu with the baby blaster here, looking for Doomfist. Not quite going to be a thing. It is now turned into a full back and forth situation. King dropping down Pizza Demon, looking for more. Takes down his counterpart, and the SkyFoxes now pressure, rotating back the other way. But guess what? We got Nano Boosted Winston coming in for Chrono Dota. Don't think it's going to be enough, but he's still making the attempt.
Someone needs to collect Jade's remains from the battlefield because that man is in pieces right now. King just absolutely demolished him on that turnaround quick flick off the punch though. But here's the thing, going forward, I'm looking certainly at Retzi now. I mean, he's been a silent killer in a lot of these fights where, you know, on the Sombra, setting things up for the rest of his team to allow for King to get in there and do the job that he needs to do. And certainly with the EMP, Hobbs got a big one in that last fight, but I think Retzi has the ability to set up, get this intel that's so important in this next fight. But as he's detected here, they could catch him out.
It's only detected if you're looking at it. No one was actually looking at him. Gets a hack on the Zed and immediately goes back out. So, yep, Sneaky Sober on the corner. Pizza Demon, a victim of King once more. King giving up his life for it. And also, Loopy went in the dive, so it's not quite the dive in that the SkyFoxes were really hoping for there. Defense now going to get a chance to reestablish. Retzi in a bit of trouble, but all he was really looking for at the end was simply getting the EMP up for the next fight.
They might have lost the fight, but yeah, exactly. They got the EMP up. Hobbs might have one of his own, but you know, if Retzi is aggressive here, they could get the first one out and find some value with that. But the important thing is that they rounded that corner there, and they got it out of the choke point as well.
We'll see if they can take advantage. Early EMP out from Hobbs did get up in the next fight. Self-destruct in from Waifu. Picks down two. Couldn't get away after the EMP. And it's that EMP self-destruct connection. That's such an efficient use of resources, rearing its head once more.
And now we'll have that same combo online for SkyFoxes as well. So we'll have to see if they can find that same impact with those two in conjunction with one another, or will it require more to get the job done? I mean, there's still options available for bye week to answer back, namely the Meteor Strike as they dive in.
Ooh, really nice. Calhoun was able to knock Retzi out of stealth. Meanwhile, Jade dives on in. They were expecting the EMP there, but Calhoun, the game sense, just ruins Retzi's day. Excellent dive in coming in by bye week, but what a setup by Calhoun to make it happen.
Yeah, that Meteor Strike is... I was expecting, you know, some kind of momentum shift, but not like that, taking both of the supports out. I mean, without the ability for Felty to bring them around the corner, they don't have an ability to rotate out quickly enough to get away from Jade's Meteor Strike at all.
This pressure is unrelenting towards SkyFoxes right now. They are able to get Hobbs. Now they can move on in. Redzy just has enough. Drops EMP run Chrono Dota alone, and he was nano boosted. They aren't even able to finish him off that. But now hits with the Biohade. Pure focus coming in, and SkyFoxes do invest quite a bit, but they're finally out of this spawn camp-esque situation. However, this has been a great defense from Bye so far.
Absolutely. I mean, certainly you can say a lot about their engages as well. They've been very aggressive. They look a lot more confident with the way that they're engaging these fights. And Hobbs now caught out. He does have his recall to go back on, as he's going to take a little bit of a duel here with Redzy, but he's going to fall back. And I think that when you set up for this next fight, you have to make sure that you're really kind of putting a lot of importance on Snow, who's just so far in the back line, it's going to be hard to get to him.
Redzy got hit by the hack. He got the hack in the Chrono Dota, but certainly not worth. When he gets hacks himself, he can't get away with the translocator. So already the offense had a bit of a disadvantage. Bye week. You see Jade with the Meteor Strike, go to the back line, looking for the Ana, gonna drop it on the Diva, goes for the punch to the backhand side, but Bye week, super low as they dove on in. This is still winnable for the attack.
I'm not sure if that was seen on stream, but Snow has the biggest brain that I have ever seen in my entire life, dodging not only the Meteor Strike, but also the Diva Bomb as well. That was just such a clutch way to sidestep and get both of those eluded.
Look, it's one of those things where if you've played MMOs, you know this get out of the fire, and there was a lot of fire there that he dodged effectively. He could go in your Mythic raid anytime. SkyFoxes, though, getting the cleanup they need here. Chrono Dota gonna fall, and they're getting the cleanup they need to get into third. And remember, all they have to do is finish the map here, and that's gonna be enough. 2 minutes to do the job.
I've just never seen a man get his ankles broken as hard as Jade did by Snow in that setup. I'm just still blown away by that. But going forward, it's again another opportunity for Snow to hit that nano boost. But here's a question: who's it going to be on? I mean, there's a lot of options for him for this, as King, could certainly be one if they want to just go for it really early. He's going to go right into the back line. Already found Jade, has that Meteor Strike available.
Has to use the Meteor Strike to save himself, though. Going into the back, he's getting Pizza Demon. No, Pizza Demon got into the spawn, got away in time. King under pressure, but gonna get healed back up, ends up falling. Though, with Waifu down, it's still 5v5. SkyFoxes can make something happen here. Moopy early on, Primal Raid set up. Zombs hits pay dirt on the self-destruct, and as messy as it is, SkyFoxes now well on their way.
Although, look at the time. I mean, they don't have much of that, and Jade is gonna hit his reset, or give himself an opportunity to hit a reset, as he does hit that Meteor Strike. Not gonna find anybody, but will allow himself to get out of the fight to get that full heal.
Hobbs going to the back line, drops the EMP. Bye week. Oh, you don't get the Lucio. The Sound Barrier comes in. It's going to limit the damage from the EMP. Nice play coming up from Felty, but Moopy super low. Can't get healed up in time. Hobbs still able to track it down. And we are down to the final fight and opportunity here for the SkyFoxes.
It's all down to this right now, right? I mean, Snow with that nano boost has to really find someone, and they have to find value with that. They're going to see Bye week with a huge amount of opportunity to shift momentum should they ever lose it in this fight. So if Bye week isn't, finding something very early, they can easily shift things back in their favor.
Super aggressive nano boost coming in the Chrono Dota. He leads the way moving in, but Jade gets punished. They don't get the pick off they're looking for. Now, you look towards Snow. Looking like he's going to be nano boosting Winston in turn here. Moopy getting low, and he's going to drop the nano boost. Moopy back up to full, but he wasn't ready to dive on in, so it was more of something just to heal him back up. Not going to be extracting the maximum value from this, but it's still enough. Waifu and Hobbs out of the fight. Overtime in progress. SkyFoxes, man advantage. Redzy drops the EMP. Everything being invested here, aside from the self-destruct, but they can use that to clear it at the end. You gotta go back to Zombs. He's gonna be waiting. This is his moment. They just need a little bit more. People are staggering in. When do you drop the self-destruct? He's just waiting. A little bit to land the point. Waifu drops it first. Zomb's gonna wait. Ends up ganking back. Has to use the self-destruct to get back in, but Kalyun is down and the SkyFoxes still applying pressure.
What a back and forth. King, though, this is his moment to shine once again, this time on the attacking side.
Yang drops the Meteor Strike, able to get one down. In on the Doomfist, looking for some final pickoffs. Goes to the back. Here comes the beat from the SkyFoxes. Pressure still in. Every pickoff going their way. Hobbs in trouble. Hobbs falls down. And the pressure from the SkyFoxes close now to eliminating Bye week.
Oh,
but Jade comes back in! Jade evens the score! The nano boost from Chrono Dota turns it back the other way. Suddenly SkyFoxes not in a good shape at all! The last moments here going the way of Bye week, and the SkyFoxes falling bit by bit. They might not have enough steam.
This is so winnable for them. They just have to back them off the point. They don't even have to win it. All they have to do is make sure that they play off their respawns, which they have such an advantage with.
Got to touch a point. Moopy on it, using Primal Rage to stay in on it. The defense fully re-established here. Everyone back up. Moopy down. King going for the strike. Has to go back down immediately. Doesn't want to risk not being on the payload. Ends up falling. Doesn't get anything. Now, EMP from Red. Final opportunity. Felty boops off two. This is a crazy fight still in progress, but the defense getting more in the trades, and we're going to a map 3.
Oh man, bye week. Able to clutch that out in such a big way. I mean, Felty came through and went for the environmentals that we know and love, seeing that from him, but clutch on both sides. King was the one defensively for the SkyFoxes, but man, Jade really came through. These Doomfists are just so good at taking each other down in these final phases and being clutch in the final moments.
No doubt about it, but so similar with the tank play as well, and just being able to nullify the impact of a Meteor Strike around the point, still allowing contest in a very tough situation. But man, normally you would have thought that would have gone the other way, but well, it's not the case here. So really good play coming out from bye week. They stay alive, and I gotta say, this is certainly a little bit stressful for the SkyFoxes, because when you let it go to a third and final map 3, that is an elimination map, anything can happen.
Yeah, anything can happen indeed, and we're waiting on that map choice. And I'm really curious to see what they want to pull out here, because if I'm SkyFoxes, I'm looking at the opportunity to pull out some version of a control map or something like that. I think that that's where they look really, really solid. You might want to even pull out something. I mean, that's what I would go to, right? I mean, you already won out on Lijiang Tower.
I might be wrong, but I think for the BO3 pool, the only control map choice is Lijiang, so they would have to bring it to either Escort or Hybrid. It's only when we get to the BO5 that we have Ilios in the pool, so they don't actually get the ability to bring it over the control. So my guess would be with what they're running here.
That's good news for bye week, I think.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
it might be.
And they are going to bring it to Hollywood, so it does make sense. I think they're going to hope to get a pretty good first point hold and see where it goes from there. Although it is a little bit weird given the fact that SkyFoxes do run a pretty formidable Sombra Doomfist. It has been totally the favorite, and Hollywood is not always the most amenable map to running that. So we'll see what plan they have in mind.
Yeah, and another note as well is that, I mean, SkyFoxes looked, pretty good on Hollywood. This is a note that I made before, where they dominated Hollywood against Second Wind, and right after that, we saw bye week actually losing Hollywood to LNL. However, it is important to note that last night's leftovers is not the same last night's leftovers you might recall from the last season of Beat era and going into Pit and going into Contenders. They are a very different team. They made a very big pivot, I think, into Contenders, where they show up, and I believe they went out in the quarterfinals, almost made it to semis, where it was a 2-3 to Envious, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, they could have gone even further into the playoffs. So that is a very different team than one would expect if you haven't been following with Contenders and everything. So I think this is a decent matchup opportunity for bye week here. SkyFoxes, they looked good on Hollywood. They'll have to continue that kind of pressure going forward. And again, that comes down to compositions. Are we going to see more of that, EMP Nanoblade setup? SkyFoxes already showed that they do like to run dive with Sombra Genji. That is an option for them here. And I wouldn't be surprised to see that, or, even some version of, I'm going to double down. I'm going to say we're going to see a setup with Sombra Genji. I think that's the play.
See if that ends up being the case here. And I gotta say, you want to talk about paradigm shifts, where let's remember the overall narrative here, which is that SkyFoxes was coming in, and they came in with a 4-0 over bye week in trials, which of course, I mean, it's great for them in trying to get back in the Contenders proper for season 3. But now that we've gone here to the Overwatch Beat Invitational, suddenly they are on the verge of elimination because they gave up a map. So if you want to go to the larger narrative of, hey, teams adapt around each other, teams make changes, and the same thing doesn't always work twice, well, you're really looking at that situation now.
Yeah, and you already said it. I mean, these weekend tournaments like this, where you're seeing these teams with just such high caliber teams like this have the ability to turn things around with that infrastructure that they have behind them, the coaching staffs as well, as things have been built up over the the last year. I can remember back, I'm certain you remember, looking back into the AMM days and everything going back then when teams didn't really have coaches. It wasn't really that much of a thing except for at the higher end. Now the infrastructure has been built up, so the turnarounds happen a lot more often now. A la like the Selfless era, I think was a big pivot.
I mean, certainly the infrastructure around teams has improved, where coaches eventually became more than just VOD recorders that masqueraded as coaches, where that was the reality of the early days. Like, yeah, I'm your coach. What do? I record VODs. Well, now we're getting into it. Bye week on the defense. Being aggressive, running McCree, but also with the Diva Winston moving into SkyFoxes. SkyFoxes not really hassled at all here. You can see King on the Genji, moving on over, and SkyFoxes actually out-rotating here. The deal with Chrono Dota, and now they have a huge edge.
And they're playing this so smart too. They're just biding their time and just taking advantages and diving on those, unique targets that are going to be able to be vulnerable in a lot of these engagements.
Moving on in, early pickups to their edge defense in a very rough spot here so far. King so close to getting a Dragon Blade, and the ideal scenario for him is that he doesn't have to use it here. 2 more pickoffs, and right now, Bye Week is just staggering in, not really able to do much here. And there's a point where you have to realize it's gone, it's lost, time to go back in. Not the end of King's Row, but probably at the beginning of Hollywood.
I think SkyFoxes actually looks probably at their best with this composition. I mean, we already know that Retzi likes to play, things like Tracer, so it's almost a natural progression that he moves over to Sombra and is this good at it. But to have King on the Genji as well, it really kind of sums up their dive so nicely and makes it so much more efficient.
It's worked out for them well so far here. I do think this by Retzi would be like, I'm playing Sombra, but I would love to go back to Widow. And speaking of Widows, you got Hobbs on the back, almost takes out King, was very, very close there. SkyFoxes regrouping, and they're going to be looking for the EMP Blade here in just a moment. You see Retzi moving on in. He's committed. Blade, or EMP out. King with the Blade, but he gets chunked by the Widow in the back early on. Ends up getting taken down, and he's off the space. He's off the map. We saw places we weren't supposed to see. But the other thing we're seeing is SkyFoxes does take the fight.
I don't think the Blizzard map designers over at the Overwatch team were prepared for guys like Hobbs to hit shots like that and break skyboxes in such a way. I mean, that was insane. Hobbs with just such a quick flick to get that done. Bye week now, setting things up for him, trying to find space for their Widowmaker to utilize some of these shooting lanes that are natural in this map section.
Goofy with the nano boost early on. Not going to invest the Primal here just yet. In fact, I might have been a little bit preemptive there, doesn't get much for it. Now self-destruct, going to be coming in from defense. Waifu looking for anything, doesn't get it. Jade blown up on the other end. The war of self-destructs, it's SkyFoxes on top. Up a man right now, Moopy gonna use the Primal Rage, take a lot of damage, now diving to the back. Soundbear out here from the defense, and Hobbs was able to get Retzi, so no one really on Hobbs right now. Moopy wasn't really focused on him, so Hobbs has had a lot of room to work with here on the Widow.
Yeah, and that Widow is so important in this section of the map too, because it really helps you control the high ground. It really forces the opposing team, SkyFoxes, of course, to really kind of slow things down. They can't be fully aggressive because when they jump in, they're gonna take a couple bullets to the face.
Bye week getting back on top. Both teams fighting for the top end, and Hobbs shoots himself in his own noggin. King sending the bullet back to sender. 6-on-5 for the SkyFoxes, and now King with a great situation with this Blade. Can just let it go for the next fight. And here comes the nano boost. Blade out, diving on over, and oh man, he's gonna have to go on a journey, but the journey is successful. Finds one support, makes it a clean 2. You have Jade trying to equalize on the other end. Gets one support, but Snow says no way. Bionade finishes it off.
Yeah, and with those supports and, kind of careened off and isolated already by King as they were looking to get away from him, this was actually played so well to set that up in that manner, because once Jade pulled the Blade out, they didn't have any support, so any damage that they took was permanent at that stage, and they were able to just whittle them down, and Snow finishing the job at the end.
I mean, also for Jade and the Blade, there was kind of one of those things where, okay, it was a bit of a Hail Mary, didn't quite have the same level of support, and unfortunately ran out of juice right in front of Snow, who was pretty self-sufficient. But now you look towards Retzi, gonna dive on, looking for the EMP, waiting for the self-destruct, and actually has to get on out. The timing not so great, and he's super far back. This will delay the SkyFoxes a bit.
I'm looking for SkyFox to set Zoms up in a way where he can actually get this self-destruct into one of those side lanes where, pushing them back, they can maybe find value in a self-destruct here with the EMP follow-up. They find 2!
EMP self-destruct, an old one, a classic one. It's one that's effective. 2 pickoffs coming in from that, and the SkyFoxes now well on their way, moving into point C. We'll see what adjustments, if they come out from bye week.
King, very, very dangerously close to having that blade up. You already see Snow with the nano, so connecting with those two, we've already seen a lot of consistent pressure come out from that, where, you know, he's proven to be very, very lethal. Definitely looking for a repeat of that.
Hobbs going in, pulse bomb ready, about to demech Zombs here. Blade out from King, back the other way with Moopy. A lot of disruption to the back, gonna be effective. 2 down here so far. Lucio in a rough spot. Kalyum, though, able to shake the pressure, still has the beat ready. Can't drop it, though. Moopy gets on in, and SkyFox is just a few short of limbs away from saying a dangerously fast time here in Hollywood.
The tempo that they set on attack, too, is just so oppressive. You see Jade trying to keep up with King, and he just can't.
You guys see the beat coming out from Kalyun. It's not hitting everyone because everyone isn't even there. 4 members up, though, gives the defense more of a starting ground here. SkyFoxes, though, they're about to drop the beat themselves. Felty, ready, waiting. Where's it going to be? Here comes the blade from Jade, and there goes the beat, ruining his day right away. King, a blade of his own, going to the back. Pizza Demon, 2 slashes, and gone. King with the resets, putting SkyFoxes over the top here. Just got to deal with these pesky tanks. They will have point C.
Oh, harken back to the Hammond setup as well, but looks like they'll be able to clean things up, ZP. And again, that pacing that we talked about, that blade that came out.
Oh, he got back in
2 for 1.
Chronodota got back into the point, rolled back on over. Hasn't done anything here just yet in terms of getting pickoffs, but it's buying the opportunity. And oh, okay, Hammond, you're tanky, but not that tanky. Just gets blown up point blank. And if they could delay this for another 35 seconds, that'd be big in terms of the next round. You would think that the offense would have gotten this here, but the delay for the defense has been absolutely phenomenal.
It's going to be so tough, though, for 25 more seconds. I think they just have way too much momentum in this fight. If they can just find some way to shut down Chronodota, I think that's pretty much all said and done there.
They just need 15 more seconds for that break point. Can they do it? Almost everyone is down. Waifu touches the point once more. The last one alive. Chronodota, can you get here in time? Waifu's down, and
so
no. Oh, okay. So the big part there, of course, is that if they had delayed it to under a minute, what would have happened is that then no matter what happened, if they were able to finish things out, they would have gotten an extra attack. But now they're in that danger zone where for their own attack, they at least need a little bit of time left on the clock.
Yeah, just a little bit, even if it's just, you know, just 1 second. That's all it's going to take. But as we look to the defense, it is going to be Sombra Doomfist at the moment for SkyFoxes. I mean, this is a pretty standard defense that we've seen for point ones, even on Hollywood, I would say. I mean, a lot of teams like utilizing this because it has that retake potential. You know, you can jump back into the fight if you wind up losing, but also it plays into control. It really does hamper a lot of teams' ability to run something like a tank heavy composition, whether it be goats, whether it be, you know, some variant of that. And while we do see bye week pulling that out, you have to wonder if maybe SkyFoxes saw this coming, and that's why they're running this composition, because this would be the answer to this selection, as it's just Waifu that hasn't selected, and it's going to be the diva from him.
Well, yeah, to your point, Sombra Doomfist is one of the compositions that's probably had the most success against Goats-esque compositions or variants thereof, just because of the incredible power of Doomfist again early pickoff, because if you're able to get an early pickoff onto something like a Goat-style composition, it's a composition that really relies on everyone being alive. Once you have one wheel off the wagon, things go bad really quickly, but it is going to be the Goat-style composition. Now, we have to look towards Retzi and King to see how they engage.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, once you take a wheel off the wagon, it takes a good team to make sure that they topple it over. But at this level, all these teams are like that. So that's why we see this composition so very often, because of that ability to take advantage of that.
Early hack on the Chronodota, that's going to get rid of the shield, but they're not running something that's super heavy on poke, so you don't have the penalty to the offense that you normally would in that type of situation. SkyFox is going back in again. Retzi, hack back up, this time going for Waifu. Gets rid of the defensive matrix. Dive comes in, Hobbs out immediately, and that's a nice engage from the SkyFoxes. And the Brigida, the most important pickoff here by far.
Well, they wind up losing King, but he can get back pretty quickly here, and they still have Retzi in the fray if he can get away, but he's going to be hunted down.
Jade has been supercharged here. Heavy energy, acting as the DPS essentially. 3 early eliminations, and he's able to turn the tide there, even down to Brigitte, and more importantly, he's going to get a very early grab. Ideally, he wants to use it for the next fight. He might have to use it here, but pretty unlikely unless King just blows up 3 people.
We see the meteor strike coming down, but I don't know. The sound barrier was there to block it out completely, and King's still going off, but the grab is down right now.
They did burn a lot of ults off the defense here. It'd be great for the offense if they're able to turn this and still keep it, but it's a little bit more in contest here. They even use the grab. It's not over just yet. Jade, though, gonna live. Going back over, 83% energy. Looking for King once more, takes him on down. Jade is simply undying right now, but the defense has bought a lot more time than could be expected for the advantage that bye week had, so you gotta give this to SkyFoxes so far. And there comes the beat.
Oh, we're going to see King coming back into the fight, too. Again, that retake potential that they have with the Doomfist to find that early pick, just the same way that they started. He can always come back in and do the same thing.
Jade gonna fall. That's big. He had a lot of energy, was about to get another grab. And bye week now starting to fall apart. The offense, or the defense rather, able to get back in. And you see bye week now forced back. That is phenomenal by bye week, or phenomenal by SkyFoxes, but a bit of a missed opportunity by bye week.
And always bear in mind that timer. I mean, they got it with over a minute, so the more time windows down here, the less of a chance that they're going to have at getting that next attack if they're able to close out the map.
Retzi dropping the EMP early. SkyFoxes looking for something after, and they get it. They get on the Brigitte and the Reinhardt. That is the end of the push. And to your point, time absolutely going to be a factor here. 1:25 left on the clock.
All right, but here we have the setup available. Jade, Waifu, together. Look for Hobbs or Chronodota to get that setup with either the charge or the stun. Hashtag why not both. Sometimes that does happen as well, unless Jade gets shut down. We've seen Zombs do it before. Let's see if he can do it again.
King is looking for the early pickoff off the slam, diving in, sees Pizza Demon, gets slept in the middle of the grab. 2 pickoffs here from bye week as they move in on the attack. They're going to lose Pizza Demon. They don't have the healing that they normally would have. Still, though, working at a bit of an advantage here. You see Zombs on the point, just trying to buy time for King to get back in, but you take a look at King. He's going to get back before the point is settled. Moopy, now on the ham to buy time, gets a nice slam, and here comes King, diving in, looking for Kalyun, ends up getting with the punch, and now has the Meteor Strike in reserve as Moopy is still around and in. Oh, goodbye, Pizza Demon, slammed.
Jade's going to find that kill, but that's a great entry point for them to find some value. There's no supports left at all for this GOATS comp.
This is the fight that never ends. You thought King's Row was the end? Think again. Bye week stuck in a fight for their very lives. 15 seconds left, and yet the SkyFoxes not going down. However, this should be the end. It is. Bye week finally gets that limo moving.
And with that, allot themselves a little bit of time to work with here as they're going to go forward and find some kills late, getting some staggers. But the pressure is on, certainly, onto Pizza Demon and Kalyun, who have just been getting, beaten about by King throughout this entire matchup. And you talked about the wheels of the wagon falling off, but how about just getting torn apart left and right? I mean, those things are, I would say they're definitely just getting chunked down. There's basically no wheels left.
Well, they're getting oppressed by the monarchy is what we've seen. King has been in their face, personally executing justice on the peasants is how I would personally say that. 2 pickoffs in from King to set that up. And the SkyFoxes now, 2 minutes left to defend, but there is a storm brewing here for the bye week offense, and they have all the power they need and more.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a category 5 hurricane, if anything else. I mean, we're seeing everything available, so many possible setups, but the problem is that into this section of the map, this low ground control isn't going to amount to too much.
Nano boost in on King. Doesn't quite get what he's looking for. Gonna be wasting a lot of nano boost, reestablishing Moopy. Already down. Moonta back, takes down Hobbs. The fist connecting at the end. But even with the Brigitte down, enough damage has been done here that bye week's still in a good spot. But they outright better be. They used every ult aside from one. So they invest a lot for that fight. And frankly, the defense didn't have to do nearly as much.
And I'm wondering how long it's going to take for SkyFoxes to hit that reset button and throw King back into the back line. We see the hack come out, so maybe they can find the kill as Hobbs comes around the corner. But if that is what happens, they actually have a good shot to close this second point out.
Hack dealing with King there early on. Offense now moving forward bye week with their best opportunity that they've had here so far. And I'm not... Okay, Moopy I still think is going to try and go in because that has been the nature of this game. Hack Does not quite go on him right away. Retzi a little bit in danger. Moopy buying time. King diving back in. Meteor strike up and absolutely destroyed. Can't jump into the air in time, and Bye-Week's getting some serious momentum now.
Yeah, momentum is the exact word that I would use, but here's the problem. They're going to get down below that 1 minute mark. Even if they win out every single fight from here on out, they're going to go under that 1 minute mark. And any stalling that we see from King and Moopy, which we know how, consistent that has been of a problem, SkyFoxes should be able to whittle this down to at least getting it down to 0, where they're going to have the advantage again going into that, next push.
Absolutely right, where you look at the long game here, they might have been losing the last few battles, but they are way ahead on the war. And I mean, that's a good thing because they're getting absolutely destroyed right now.
Absolutely. But here's the thing. I mean, they have the setup, right? They have the abilities. They have the right tools at their disposal. The problem, though, is that we're going to see so many things come online for Bye-Week. Once again, it's that Category 5 hurricane that we talked about already, and it's not a Streets phase anymore. This is Stage 3. This is a much better point for them.
EMP from Hobbs setting the stage, but it's not enough to protect Pizza Demon or Calhoun. King again demanding taxes from the peasants in the form of their very lives. 2 going down. Moopy diving on in, gets hacked, but without your supports, you can't realistically keep the push going the way you want to. They have to back out a bit, and we're down to the final minute.
So important as well that they pull out ultimate, so now they can re-engage with Moopy, and they don't have that same lethality to close this out, but someone has to get on the point.
Point in progress here. Defense trying to stay in. 2 already down. And remember, the name of the game here for the SkyFoxes, they need to delay this for another 20 seconds, but they're not going to be able to do that. Chrono Dota taking down another 3, swinging the hammer. Space created. 0.41 left. Do we still have a game? We do. SkyFoxes falling apart. And that means there's still the potential for a bye-week upset as we move into extra rounds.
Minute 50. I mean, this could very well be a case of, 1, maybe 2 fights, depending on how quickly the defense is able to dispatch of that 1 minute first push. But, if I'm Bye-Week right now, I'm throwing everything I have into that first engagement, going very, very aggressive, trying to set the pace early and watching corners. That's so important in these kind of situations. Time and time again, you see teams so psyched up about the opportunity to get this upset. I mean, it comes down to this: do they stay in the lower bracket, or are they out of the tournament completely? And all of a sudden, they didn't check a corner. There's a Reinhardt. There's a charge. You lose someone on your team, and all of a sudden, you lose momentum outright, right? I mean, there's so many situations where we see that happen. So I think check your corners, check everything, get intel on everything. And that's why it's so important right now to get this Sombra in play. And that's why we're seeing Hobbs playing this, despite, a lot of times seeing instead just a full 3-3. So again, Sombra, so pivotal in this matchup with a minute left.
Also, on a more base level here, we've really gone from the medieval ages where kings oppress their people by punching them in physical violence to the new ages where king is simply going to hack them, find their personal information, and control them their lives from the shadows. So I'm a big fan of this thematically as Bye-Week heads on in for the attack.
Yeah, and as far as intel goes, King has all of it. They also land the Bionic!
Nice Bionade setting up here. The SkyFoxes. King coming in from the backside. Plenty of damage. Gonna get the DMEC at 50% towards an EMP. SkyFoxes able to take that first fight, and it's gonna be one final attempt here for Bye-Week.
Intel wins wars, right, man? Intel wins wars, but that's exactly what they got out of King. Snow had all that information, landed that biotic grenade, and look, check your corners, check your corners. Here's Moopy, ready for the charge.
Yeah, he probably wishes he had an Earth Shatter, but sometimes he charges up. Diving on in, looking. Oh, God! Pizza Demon of all people! The Ana is gone. The backline healing absolutely out of it. SkyFoxes gonna hold here without any progress being given. Now they have a minute 50 to gain a mere 33%, and that will keep them alive here in the Overwatch Beat Invitational.
Don't be surprised to see more Sombra in this one. Don't be surprised in the slightest, because that's what I'm expecting here. It may not be that same Sombra Genji setup that we saw them attacking with first. They might opt to just run exactly what they ran on defense with, running tank heavy, running support heavy, and having just the one Sombra playing Snow. Perhaps again on the Ana, it might be an option for them to go something else, but I think with just how much Snow has been getting ahead in a lot of these matchups, Ana versus Ana, I think you play him on the Ana anyways, and it looks like They're just kind of deciding exactly how they want to pair up with Retzi on the Sombra. Defensively, though, I'm not sure. I mean, we see a Torb now. I don't really, I mean, it wouldn't be
Yes.
crazy. It wouldn't be crazy, right? It wouldn't be crazy, especially with all the area denial that Molten Core now brings to the table. But
Look, man, I just want to see the world burn. If seeing the world burn involves King Rang, a Symmetra, and Jade running a Torbjorn, yes. Absolutely yes. If we need, let's complete the full transformation from pub game or from competitive game into pub game. Let's see it happen. I don't think it's going to happen, but I do think the Torb is likely going to stay. Probably not so much the best.
Oh, it's going to be tough. I mean, if they wind up pulling this, so they are obviously going for the Torb here. And remember, it's not that same feast or famine approach with the Torbjorn. This is a different style, has that overload,
what?
but they are going with this. Okay, no, they're swapping.
No, they're waiting for
Checking.
intel to go
Exactly.
for a composition that they thought would be useful here. So they're just playing it slow because they know they have a little bit extra time and not much to go. And of course, you just go goats.
Yeah, watch for the area denial, though. I mean, if Jade can generate his Molten Core quickly, he can really shut down this point for sure in about a minute's time.
Well, they lose the turret right away, so don't have to worry about that. SkyFox is just going to do what goats do and power their way onto the point. Early charge in from Moopy does not connect, low on health. SkyFoxes getting poked down a bit, but now going to be able to rotate back towards the point, healed on up. Jade nowhere close to that Molten Core as Boopy swings there one more time. Nice Bionade coming in from Snow, sets up Chronodo, the fall right on the point, and the SkyFoxes now starting to take firm control halfway to their goal.
Yeah, and Jade is just not where he wants to be with this Molten Core. He's going to come in with the overload. A nice Bio Grenade set up from Pizza Demon. Can they find value with it?
Jade, meanwhile, going, I just want to shoot globs of lava here. He almost has it. 97%. Probably going to just fall immediately after he gets it, but he's looking for it. And oh, as soon as he pops it, he falls. No globs to be had. The SkyFoxes get to fly a little bit longer. Bye week eliminated here in the Overwatch Beat Invitational.
Not enough. Just not enough time to build that up, and was just dangerously low when he pulled that out. But I mean, if you're going to give anyone an MVP, it has to be King here. I mean, maybe you know, there wasn't just one play to call out, but every single time we saw him coming over to the Doomfist, it was just all dominance, all King, all game long, all series long, especially looking back at King's Row.
Well, particularly when he was able to get on Pizza Demon as often as he was, when you lose a support like a Zenyatta or an Ana early in the fight, even if the Doomfist gives up his life for it, oftentimes that can be a very beneficial trade, because what happens when you're down support in Overwatch? Suddenly, poke damage really matters. You're not instantly healing it up anymore. You're just going, oh, we actually have to back out. It absolutely kills your momentum. So for Doomfist, you're happy with those types of situations.
Yeah, and on top of everything, too, they also had the Genji as well to really just set up that permanent damage that you were talking about, really kind of striking fear into the supports. And it was just that aggression, just time and time again onto the supports that shut them down and really hindered Bioweek's ability to win a lot of these fights.
Of course, here we have some of the replays that are going on over Gravitons, self-destructs, the usual, something that you expect to see a lot in these 10kv setups, but no, we did Moopy. Nice little knockoff there in the Hammond, where it's something that people tend to underestimate. It's like, you know what? You can get environmental kills. He's not just a pest that doesn't die on the point. You gotta watch where you stand, as Felty also embodies that concept.
Yeah, I mean, we even saw something differently, too, here. I mean, in this play of the game, you can see that we did actually have, for a moment, a Tracer player. I mean, we had a Tracer come through. We saw Hobbs on it initially. You know, it's something that you don't see a lot of right now, especially given Briggs' place in the meta and how often you see Brigitte. But on top of everything, there are some different compositions that we're seeing that don't involve Brigitte, which is going to open things up for the Tracer once more. And maybe we'll be seeing a little bit more of Tracer going forward.
Well, I think it's also an adjustment period, right? Where people stopped running Tracer as much because, in large part, you didn't want to deal with Brigitte. However, there's plenty of compositions now where sometimes the team doesn't want to run a Brigitte. If they're not running a Brigitte, guess what? Your Tracer has a lot more room to work with. So it's going to be that back and forth of, hey, what composition are they running? Oh, wait, Tracer's pretty good here. And also the fact that Tracer is such a unique hero to deal with that if you're not really in the mode of dealing with the Tracer on a mechanical level, it's actually pretty horrifying compared to the day where you saw it in every game. So there is an adjustment period for these teams. But guys, We do have to take a quick little break before our next setup. And don't worry, when we come back from break, we're going to be selling out because our sponsors, they definitely need a bit of love. But this is the Overwatch Beat Invitational. We'll be right back.